All right, let's talk about something that's probably crossed your mind every single time you've seen that little green circle spinning in the corner of your screen. We're digging into some fascinating research from the Journal of Linguistics and Social Sciences to find an answer.
You know what I'm talking about. That digital writing assistant that's always there, catching your typos, suggesting better words. But here's the real question. Does it actually make you a better writer, or is it just a high-tech crutch? Let's see what the science has to say.
So, before we get to the answer, we gotta set the stage. Why is a tool like this so popular in the first place? Well, it all starts with a very real, very common struggle.
Look, if you've ever tried to learn a new language, you know that writing is kind of like the final boss. You can get pretty good at speaking and listening, but putting your thoughts down on paper, clearly and correctly, that is a whole different ballgame. And the research shows there are some usual suspects when it comes to errors. You know, things like mixing up and the, getting your verb tenses all tangled up, or those pesky subject-verb agreement issues. These little things can add up fast.
Now, here's the problem with the old school approach. You write something, you hand it in, and maybe, a week later, you get it back with some red ink on it? By then, you've probably forgotten what you even wrote. It's just too slow, and it lets all those bad habits really set in.
So, if the traditional way has its flaws, could technology be the answer? This is where our digital writing assistants enter the picture. Now, the fancy term for tools like this is Automated Writing Evaluation, or AWE for short. And their biggest selling point is that feedback is instant. You make a mistake, and boom, it's flagged right away, in real time.
But that brings up the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If a program is constantly fixing your mistakes for you, are you really learning? Or are you just getting really good at clicking accept suggestion without even thinking about it? That's the heart of the debate.
Well, to cut through all the opinions, researchers designed a really clever experiment to get some hard data.
Here's how they set it up. They took 60 students who were learning English and split them right down the middle. One half, the experimental group, got to use Grammarly for their assignments. The other half, the control group, had to do it the old-fashioned way, just them and their teacher's feedback.
The whole experiment was pretty straightforward. First, everybody wrote an essay. That's the pretest, to see where they started. Then, for a while, one group used Grammarly and the other didn't. Finally, everyone wrote one last essay, the post-test, to see who actually improved.
So, the big moment. What happened? Well, let me tell you, the results were anything but subtle.
Just look at this number, 19.9. That was the average score increase for the students who used Grammarly, nearly a 20-point jump.
And when you see it on a chart, it is just wow. The Grammarly group scores shot up by an average of 19.9 points. The control group, they improved by just 0.4 points. I mean, it's not even a contest. The difference is huge.
So how'd they get that massive boost? Simple. They just made way fewer errors. We're talking a 56% drop in mistakes with articles, a nearly 50% drop in verb tense errors, and a big improvement in punctuation. The instant feedback was clearly working. But here's what might be the coolest finding of all. The tool helped the most for the students who were struggling the most. The lower proficiency writers saw an incredible 24.5-point gain. It acted like a powerful tool to help them catch up. So it's a slam dunk, right? Case closed. Grammarly is the secret to becoming a better writer. Well, not so fast. The data actually tells a more nuanced story. Turns out the tool has its limits. When it came to more complex, context-heavy issues, like subject-verb agreement or knowing exactly the right preposition to use, the improvements were much, much smaller. This shows us that some rules are just too tricky for an algorithm to handle on its own. And that brings us to the key conclusion from the researchers themselves. They put it perfectly. Grammarly is a powerful aid, but, and this is a big but, it's not a substitute for instruction. And that's really the bottom line here. You have to think of it as a training partner. It's a tool to help you learn, not a tool to do the learning for you. The real magic happens when you pay attention to the suggestions and try to understand why they're being made. Which leaves us with a pretty exciting question for the future. It's clearly not about humans versus machines. The real challenge is figuring out how we combine the wisdom of a great teacher with the power of smart technology to create a better way for all of us to learn.